What does the end of a relationship actually look like? Today's explainer dives into a fascinating and honestly heartbreaking case study about a couple named Emily and Ryan. This story completely reframes how we think about relationships falling apart, and it starts with a phrase we have all probably used.
What does the end of a marriage actually sound like? Most of us assume it sounds loud. We picture screaming matches, thrown plates, dramatic exits, and obvious betrayal. But the thesis of today's explainer is that the most dangerous threat to a relationship isn't noise at all. It's quiet routine.
There is a massive disconnect between how we expect things to end and how they actually do. We expect the screaming, the slammed doors, the cheating. But the actual end, it's quiet. It's reduced effort. It's a simple, seemingly harmless phrase, "not tonight." For Emily, "not tonight" became an automatic response. After work, after doing the dishes, after bad moods, and long days that somehow turned into long months. At first, Ryan understood. There was no fight, no guilt trip, no pressure. Emily thought this lack of friction meant everything was fine.
But what she didn't realize is that understanding has limits nobody talks about. Before the distance crept in, Ryan was highly affectionate. His love language consisted of small, easy things: kitchen hugs, random forehead kisses, hands reaching for hers during movies. These are the kinds of gestures you barely notice when you have them, and you only truly realize their value when they disappear.
Let's move to a specific Friday night. Ryan planned a simple dinner: candles, her favorite pasta, wine. Nothing expensive, just effort. Emily walked in, absolutely exhausted from work, saw the setup and immediately felt tired. Not loved, just tired. Ryan smiled and said, "Thought we could have a night together." Emily dropped her bag and said she was exhausted. His smile faded just a little, and she dropped that automatic sentence, "Not tonight." He just nodded and said, "Okay."
The psychology beneath the surface of that interaction is fascinating. Ryan's dinner wasn't just a meal, it was an emotional bid. These are small attempts to connect, seek attention, or ask for affection from a partner. When Emily said "not tonight," she wasn't just turning down a plate of pasta, she was denying a critical emotional bid. And that moment, right there, is when the shift happened.
Let's see how this builds over time. Something changed after that denied bid, quietly, almost invisibly. By week 1, Ryan stops planning dinners and stops reaching for her at night. By week 3, he's focusing entirely on himself, going to the gym, cooking his own meals, listening to podcasts. No dramatic speeches, no slammed doors. He just adjusted. At first, Emily actually loved this change. Less pressure, more space. She mistook this widening gap for peace.
But peace has a strange way of becoming loneliness when it lasts too long. Weeks later, Emily had a shift in perspective. She noticed Ryan was looking better, healthier, and highly focused. But emotionally, he felt farther away than ever before. The man who used to care too much suddenly looked entirely too peaceful.
The tension peaks one night when Emily climbs into bed wearing an oversized shirt Ryan used to love. Normally, he would have noticed immediately. He would have made a joke, pulled her closer, done something. This time, nothing. He kept reading. A strange panic crept into her chest, and she finally asked him, "Do you not notice anything?" His response was just a small smile and a polite, indifferent, "Looks comfortable." Then he went back to his book. That stung deeply, because rejection feels very different when you're the one reaching.
Eventually, Emily couldn't take the polite distance anymore. She finally asked if he was mad at her. He shook his head and said no, he was just tired. When she pressed him, asking what exactly he was tired of, he gave this heartbreaking, calm response. Tired of trying not to feel unwanted.
Emily immediately wanted to argue, defend herself, and explain her stress and her work. But a brutal realization hit her before the words came out. When was the last time she had actually made him feel wanted? She made him feel appreciated, respected, part of a comfortable routine. But feeling wanted means being desired, pursued, chosen. She couldn't remember the last time she made him feel that way. Their love had quietly turned into survival mode and schedules.
Emily frantically tried to fix things. She woke up early one Saturday and made his favorite pancake breakfast. She was trying, actually trying. Ryan walked in, surprised, but his reaction was completely flat. "This looks nice," he said. "Just nice. No warmth, no excitement." This moment perfectly maps out the true anatomy of distance before people leave. It happens in these exact steps. First, reduced effort. Then, reduced hope. And finally, reduced expectation.
That night, lying in bed beside him in the dark, Emily whispered, "Did you give up on us?" Ryan stayed quiet long enough to make her heart race. Then he answered, "No." Relief flooded her, but it was too soon.
He continued quietly, "I gave up begging someone to want me." That sentence hit like cold water. It wasn't cruel, it sounded practiced, like something he'd been carrying alone for a very long time.
With tears in her eyes, Emily asked why he didn't tell her. His response? "I did, so many times." Ryan had been trying to tell her he was hurting through tiny, easily dismissible conversations. "Can we talk?" was met with, "Not now." "Are we okay?" was met with, "I'm tired." "Do you miss us?" was met with, "Not tonight." Small sentences, tiny moments that didn't look dangerous, until they added up to a mountain of distance. She was simply too exhausted to notice.
Emily looked at him, the distance, the calmness, the missing hurt, and finally understood the core lesson of this entire explainer. The danger was never his frustration, it was the calm, the quiet, the absence of trying. People don't always leave loudly. Sometimes they just stop asking, they stop reaching, they stop hoping. And by the time you notice the silence, something important might already be gone.
I want to leave you with an urgent question today. Look closely at your own relationships. Beyond the daily grind, the stress, and the comfortable routines, when was the last time you made them feel wanted? Think deeply about it, because as we've seen today, the cost of not tonight might be much higher than you ever realized.